When you think about what a business really wants, one word probably pops into your head: profit. And yeah, more is always better, right? Well, what if I told you that for a ton of companies out there, that's just the tip of the iceberg? Let's dig in and find out what's really driving the businesses all around us. So let me ask you, what do you think is the number one goal of any business? The classic answer has been drilled into our heads for like decades, but as we're about to see, it is far from the only answer. Because the reality, oh, it's way more complicated. A company's true purpose is usually a mix of a bunch of competing goals, pulling leaders in totally different directions every single day. It is a constant balancing act. So let's go beyond that bottom line. We're going to unpack what businesses are really striving for, and I think you might be surprised by the sheer variety and, honestly, the tension between all their different ambitions. Think about your own life for a sec. You've got goals for your career, right? And for your health, your relationships. You can't just go all in on one without the other starting to suffer. Well, businesses face that exact same challenge, a constant juggling act of priorities that are all competing for attention. All right, so let's explore this whole spectrum of goals and get past this idea that it's all just about the money. First up, the classic: profit maximization. For decades, this was like the ultimate benchmark of a successful business. It's simple, you can measure it, and it's what shareholders have traditionally screamed for above everything else. But is it always the smartest goal? See, focusing only on profit has some serious trade-offs. Sure, you get more cash to reinvest and you keep your investors happy. But what about your customers? They're suddenly facing higher prices. Or your employees, who are feeling overworked and undervalued. Chasing those short-term profits can sometimes put the long-term health of the entire company at risk. Okay, now for a really fascinating alternative: profit satisficing. Forget maximizing. This is all about making just enough profit to keep the owners happy and the business ticking along nicely. Just picture the odor of your favorite local coffee shop. Their main goal probably isn't to build a global empire. It's more likely to make a good living, create a great spot for the community, and still have time for their family. For them, enough is actually the perfect amount. Of course, sometimes the goal is way more basic. Think about restaurants or airlines back in 2020. The objective wasn't about thriving. It was literally just about surviving, just keeping the lights on so you can fight another day. So once a business is stable, the next logical step often feels like growth. The thinking is pretty simple. If you're not growing, you're shrinking. But here's the catch: growing too fast can be just as dangerous. Expanding super fast can burn through all your cash, push the company deep into debt, or even force you to cut prices, which hurts your profits. And trying to jump into new markets where you have no experience, that can be a recipe for disaster. It is a very delicate balancing act. Then there's another really popular goal: increasing market share. This one isn't just about the money, it's about pure competition. It's about outselling your rivals to become the brand in your field. I mean, just look at Nike. In 2021, their footwear sales hit $28 billion. That's more than double their closest competitor, Adidas. This is what it looks like when a company absolutely dominates. That right there is the power of market share. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. We've seen all these different goals, but here's the problem. A lot of the time, you can't chase them all at once. This is the balancing act, the point where corporate goals literally collide. So it all boils down to this fundamental question: what's more important, being the richest company, the one with the highest profit margins, or being the biggest company, the one with the most customers? The answer to that question defines a company's entire strategy. Think about it. To maximize your profit, you often have to raise your prices. But to gain market share, you usually have to lower them. These two incredibly powerful goals are constantly pulling in completely opposite directions. But in the 21st century, there's a whole new factor thrown into the mix. It's no longer just a battle between profit and growth. Now we're talking about profit with a purpose and the huge rising importance of ethics. And that brings us to this idea of the triple bottom line. The concept is that success isn't just about the financial profit anymore. It's also about a company's impact on people and its impact on the planet. Real, sustainable success is found right where those three circles overlap. This is tied directly to corporate social responsibility, or CSR. That's just when a business actively takes responsibility for how it affects everyone: employees, the community, the environment, you name it. Now, acting responsibly can definitely increase your costs, but in an age of conscious consumers, it can also be a massive marketing advantage.
This all raises some really tough, real-world questions for the global giants. How should a company like Nestlé or Starbucks source its supplies from developing nations? There are no easy answers here, and these ethical decisions have become a core part of modern business strategy.
So, how do businesses actually turn these huge, lofty goals into something an employee physically does on a Tuesday morning? Let's decode how a mission becomes an action. It basically works like a waterfall. It starts with a broad mission statement that gets broken down into measurable business objectives. Then, those are translated into goals for each division, then each department, and finally, down to individual employees. In a really well-run company, every single task can be traced all the way back up to that main goal. So the next time you buy a coffee or use an app or even just see an advertisement, you can look beyond the surface. Now that you know how to decode their goals, ask yourself, what do the companies you interact with every single day really want? The answer might be way more fascinating than you think.